أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين صلوا على السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم أهل البيت. Together inshallah. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Before we begin the majlis, may I ask everyone to please get up and come to the forward to give some space for people who might come late. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Brothers, can you move this exactly there? बारे दीगर बावाज़ बुलंद सलावत
قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وفي الأرض آيات للموقنين وفي أنفسكم أفلا تبصرون صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل Respected elders, sisters and brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. When we examine Karbala, we examine the day of Ashura, we find that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did not have any resentment, hatred, anger towards anyone, especially from those of the opposing side. I want you to imagine that scenario in Karbala where the people who are chanting at you and they are saying that you are going to be killed, your family, we're going to kill your family, and we will slaughter you today, this will be your last day, etc. Right? What will be your reaction towards those individuals? Certainly, my reaction will be anger, right? I will start, perhaps, my anger will take over my body, right? And my emotions, and I will perhaps say things back at them with maybe a heart that is full of sadness towards what has happened or what is about to happen. But Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he was absolutely tranquil. Yes? He knew that this particular mission, right, he is the one who will succeed at the end. Yes, it includes a big tragedy where him and his companion and his family will be martyred, and the woman and the children will be captives. Yes? However, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam kept calm. Right? He had a bigger goal. I'll take you back a bit further with Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallu alayhi. In the Battle of Trenches, you all know the story. When Ali ibn Abi Talib went in trying to attempt to kill Amr ibn Wud, right? And then what happened after that? Ali ibn Abi Talib, as we all know him, with his bravery, he struck Amr ibn Wud, right? But then when Amr ibn Wud fell on the floor, he spat on Imam Ali alayhi salam. Yes? Did Imam Ali alayhi salam kill him at an instant? Or what did Imam Ali do? Once Amr ibn Wud spat at him, he started walking around. Went forth, came back. Went forth, came back. Went forth, came back. And then went and killed Amr ibn Wud. They asked him, why did you do this, O Amir al-Mu'mineen? Yes, you've all heard the story. He said, because I did not want to kill him because of anger. Yes? It's not because of anger that I killed him. Because if someone spits at you, you become angry, right? So he took time to calm down. The hit of Ali was much bigger than a result of him just spitting at him and him killing him. Yes? Now, go back a bit further with the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. They used to call him Majnoon. They used to call him Sha'ir, you're a poet, you're a crazy man, right? We don't believe you. They used to throw stones at him. Yes? What did the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa do? Did he throw stones back at them? Did he swear at them? Did he insult them? No. He went back home and prayed for them. And he said, oh Allah, forgive them because they don't know. Allahumma aghfir lahum fa innahum la ya'lamun. Very strange. Huh? So, if someone was to kick me with a stone, right? Hit me with a stone or do whatever, surely I'll throw a stone back. Yes? But no, Rasul sallallahu had a much bigger project, much bigger goal in his mind. Yes? Now, why are we talking about all this? How can we begin, my brothers and sisters, to understand this particular state that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa and the Imams went through? Surely, if we are the soldiers, or we claim, or we want to be the soldiers of Imam al-Hujjah, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, then surely we need to strive towards being in that particular state. Yeah? That particular state where I'm absolutely tranquil, when I don't have hatred in my heart towards anyone. Yes? How can I reach that stage? Now, today's topic, my brothers and sisters, is something that for me is vital and so important that it has in fact changed some people's lives. Yes? If we contemplate closely on this topic, right, it can actually change your perception of life and your understanding of life and how you can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? A saying says that if you want to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do? You get to know yourself first, right? And by knowing the self, I appreciate the states that I am going through, my different emotions that I will be going through. So perhaps I can strive to reach that position of our Prophet and the Imams. Yeah? Today, inshallah, I'm going to take you towards a journey of knowing the self, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This journey is not going to be easy. I'm going to tell you from now. So therefore, I need your full attention, right? because it might get some complicated in certain cases, right? But inshallah, we'll try to give as many examples as possible. So at the end of the day, inshallah, we'll try to come up with a conclusion of understanding how to get to know the self. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a person called Imam Al-Ghazali. You've heard of him, right? He was a philosopher, a very intellectual person. He's got a book called The Alchemy of Happiness, right? And this alchemy of happiness, he speaks about how one can be happy in life. And he comes up with a conclusion that for you to become happy, you've got to know yourself. And so therefore, when you get to know yourself, you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you become happy, you become tranquil. Yes? When people insult you, right? You won't have this hatred in your heart. You let it go. Yeah? When Amr ibn Uwayd spat at Imam Ali alayhi salam, he let it go. But he hit him, not because he spat at him, but because he had a much bigger go. When they used to hit Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he didn't hit back. Right? That is that particular state. Yes? So he explains how to get to know the self. He says, very interestingly, that he describes the whole state of your body as a kingdom. Yes? Just bear with me here in this journey, inshallah. He describes it as a kingdom. He says that your heart, this is the spiritual heart, not the pumping heart, but this is the spiritual heart. Remember, I'm taking you towards a journey inside. You want to find out who you are. I don't want to know your height, your eye color, your things like that. I'm not interested in this. I want to know what's inside. What's really inside your soul. Yeah? He says that the heart is like a king of this kingdom. Right? We have a kingdom. Your heart is the king. Yeah? And he says that the minister of this kingdom is something called the intellect, al-aql. Yeah? So you have a heart and you have a intellect, right? The heart is the king and the intellect is what? Is the minister in this kingdom. And you also have a tax collector who is the appetite in your body. Yes? And you also have a policeman who is what? Who is the anger in your body. And you have lots of workers who are your limbs and organs in this kingdom. They are construction workers who are your limbs and organs. Yes? Interestingly, what he says that your body is in constant struggle. If you want to control your appetite, remember what was the appetite? Was the tax collector. Yeah? If you want to control the tax collector, yeah? And you want to control your anger, who was the anger? The policeman in the kingdom. If you want to control these two, the tax collector and the policeman, you have to make sure that the king is what? The king is always coordinating with who? With the minister. The minister. Always the king consults the minister because the king can't work himself. The spiritual heart can't just work by itself. It needs to connect to what? The aql. Yes? It needs to always constantly connect to the aql. Yeah? The intellect. However, if you imprison the intellect, if you take the minister and put him in prison, what happens to the king? The king will be by himself. Right? He will then control the tax collector nor the policeman. Yes? They will run riot in the kingdom. And the king will not know what to do. He needs the minister, the brains of the minister, to control because the king is sort of emotional. Yes? It's the heart. Right? And the minister is the intellect. You need both to work together so that you can control this body of yours, which is the kingdom. Yeah? Okay, so far? Now, the question is, what I want to ask you this question: where is your minister in your kingdom? Yeah? We all have our king in the heart. Don't worry, he's not imprisoned. We have them everywhere, right? Everyone has a king who is free. But I want to ask you this question, my brothers and sisters, today. How many of you have locked your minister? How many of you have locked your intellect? Who is using their intellect? Yes? Because with your actions, remember anger. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, what? Did not lock their intellect. Yes? They had control over their anger. Remember when he spat at him? He had control over his anger. But if his intellect was locked, he would have killed him once he spat at him, because he would have responded to the spitting. Right? So I want to ask you this question. Where is your intellect? Is it locked or is it free to work with the king? Let's go through this journey, inshallah, to find out, is our intellect locked or is it free? Because if it is locked, you go and reflect on yourself. Remember, this is knowing yourself. I can't tell you what's yourself. I'm going to try to let you know how to get to know yourself, yes? But I want you to ask these questions. Are you an angry person? Always screaming, always fighting, quickly things irritate you? Then I'm sorry, you have locked your intellect. Yeah? You've locked your intellect. What about your appetites? Is your appetite all going loose? Do you lower your gaze? Right? For sisters and brothers, do you lower your gaze when you see indecent images? Do you eat anything? You drink anything? Or you have control over your appetites? Huh? Do you have control over your appetites? If you don't, then you've locked your intellect. Today, inshallah, we're going to go through a journey. If we've locked our intellect, we want to unlock the intellect. Let him out. Let him free in the kingdom. Yeah? I'm going to show you an image. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. For those who can see this image, for those who can't, just don't worry about it. This is called the anger iceberg. Have you seen an iceberg? Yes? This is an iceberg, right? Icebergs, the thing about icebergs is that you can only see a small part of the iceberg, yeah, at the top. But there's a huge amount under the water that you can't see, yeah? Now, we've taken the example of an anger. Anger you can see at the top, but what is hidden behind the anger? Why do you get angry? Some people will say, it's because I'm scared, right? I get angry because of fear, I get angry. Some people say I'm rejected in life, so my reaction is to get angry. Some people will say I'm overwhelmed, so I get angry. Some people, when they're offended, someone insults you, you get angry, correct? Some people say because I'm stressed, I get angry. But all of these things are hidden inside you. No one can come and see this. Come and see that, oh yes, I can read from you that you have been offended here. If they didn't know, how can they read from you that you've been offended? It's all inside. That's why in iceberg you can't see this image, correct or not? Yes? But the question here is, what triggers these particular emotions, right? Or these particular factors of the overwhelming, of you're overwhelmed, you are stressed, etc. That trigger emotions, which is your emotions, which is called anger. Yes? It's the concept of the thought. Is everyone with me so far? Yes? Inshallah, you're all with me. As I said, I'm going to take you towards a journey. It can get a bit difficult, but inshallah, with continuous salawat and people waking up, inshallah, we can get to unlock the prison and let the minister out and the intellect out. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. So it's the concept of thought, right? It's the concept of thought that brings about an anger. Now, I'll take you back to the examples. Why did Imam Hussein alayhi salam not have hatred against those people who kept on throwing arrows at him and his family and his companions, right? He must have had a thought in his head. Said, well, why don't you go and say things back to them? Yes, he had a thought perhaps. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he had a thought of killing him when he spat at him. He had a thought in his head. But Imam Ali alayhi salam allowed that thought to pass by, and then he went and walked. Right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they were throwing stones at him, he had a thought of throwing the stone back, but no, he kept it. Right? He said, no, this is not the right thing for me to do. So it didn't trigger any anger inside them. Yes? If someone comes and insults me, it will trigger an anger inside me because I take the thought very seriously. Yeah? In the next few minutes, we're going to explore the concept of thought. Yes? As you see, what I'm trying to do is trying to drill right inside every single one of us to reach a conclusion, inshallah, into how we can unlock this minister. Yeah? So we're going to expand on the issue of the thought, because what does the thought do? The thought brings up these particular emotions. Yeah? Studies say that within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, so you've all inshallah met me, our mind makes 11 different decisions about them, including their intelligence, their socio-economic status, education, and competence. Don't know what you judge me today, right? People look at what they dress, for example, they make judgments. Yeah? People look at what they say, so they judge their intelligence. Yeah? How are these come about? It's through your thought processes. When you're sitting down, you look at someone, the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, the thoughts race. Studies say, although it's very difficult to come up with such a figure, but they say you get around 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. As you are hearing me now, you're getting thoughts of saying, why did I come today? I wish I could have stayed at home, perhaps. That's a thought that you might have got, right? Some of you. As I am talking to you now, I'm getting thoughts. That's why I'm talking to you, because my brain is receiving these thoughts and I'm processing it and I'm speaking to you right now. Yes? So our body, our mind keeps on processing these thoughts. Now, I'm going to show you another image. If it comes about. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alihi. If you don't see it, don't worry. It's not that important, but I will describe this image. See, the first thing, my brothers and sisters, this is my theory of what is a thought. So the question is, what is a thought? Okay? This thought that makes judgments of people, this thought that might trigger anger, yes? Is what is in your environment? What's in your senses? What's in your experiences? What's with the events that happened all around you? All are inputted into this thing called the mind. Yeah? The mind, in our definition here, is not the brain. We're not talking about the brain here. Just concept of the mind. Yeah? So, for example, I am driving, right? And there is a very slow driver right in front of me, right? A thought comes in my head and says, take over, and make sure that you beat this driver. Yes? That's a thought that has come in my head. Now, the reason why this thought has come in my head is perhaps because of experiences, or because I love cars, or because I just feel I don't like slow drivers. Yes? But if you are an individual who was living in Africa, for example, and you couldn't afford a car, but I bring you and I take you to exactly that scenario of when I was driving and there was a slow driver, would you think the same thoughts? Because you haven't been experiencing driving, it all depends on your experience. That's why the thought has come up. Yeah. So based on your experiences, this is inputted into something called the mind. The mind churns up something. It's like a mechanic. It churns up something and it comes up with a what? With a thought. Yes? And the thoughts, they bring emotions. Anger. Yeah? So let me give you another example. When I walk into my house, right? I'm a that type of person because of my experiences, because of my senses, etc. I usually like to walk into a house which is clean. Yeah? If I walk to my house and it's not clean and my wife has been there all day, right? I mean, I can reverse this because now our sisters work as well. So we can, please reverse this in your mind as well. It could be a sister walking in and the husband is inside. I'm not into these gender sexist stuff, but bear with me. So you come in, right? And the wife, it hasn't really cleaned the house, right? Or the husband hasn't cleaned the house. Yes? You get a thought straight away. Say, what is going on? Tell her off. Why hasn't she cleaned the house? That's a thought that comes up. Based on what? The thought is based on my experiences in life, right? It's been inputted into the mind and it comes out as a thought. And that thought has triggered my emotions, which is what? Anger. Say, oh, what's going on here? Why haven't you cleaned the house? And then what happens? Confrontations, and then we get problems. Yes? Happy to tell you that I'm married and happily married, alhamdulillah.
Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
What I want to tell you, my brothers and sisters, or inform you, is that this mind that I'm talking about, right, that produces the thoughts that then produce the emotions, is not who you really are. You want to know yourself, you do not, you should not say that I am my own thoughts. You see, the problem is that we take our thoughts very seriously. All the thoughts that I get in my head, I think they are me. It's who they actually define who I am. Yeah? So this thought that has come in my head, when I enter the house, I believe that it's me. Subconsciously, I believe it's me. I believe I have to act on this thought. So therefore, I act on it. Right? However, what we really are is not our mind. We are not our thoughts. You want to know who you are? You are not your mind, you are your. But you, the individual, you are this combination of the heart and the intellect. If you have imprisoned your intellect, then you think you are your mind. You will believe every thought that you will get, subconsciously. Yes? So therefore, if I will get a thought, if I take subconsciously this thought very seriously, right? I'm not tapping into my intellect. I am taking this thought and I believe that who I am, who describes me, is my thought. So therefore I act on that thought. Whereas someone who unlocks this prison and lets the intellect out will tap into the intellect. The intellect will say what? The intellect will say, no, don't act on this thought. This is a bad thought. You shouldn't really take deep breaths. When you get into the house, yes, you got that thought, take deep breaths, just let the thought go. Because if you were to take this thought seriously and say and shout at your wife, then of course you are ruining your relationship and you will make it worse, right? So the intellect is where the rationality comes in, is where the logic comes in. However, the reason why we have a community, a society all around the world which is so problematic is because a lot of us have locked this intellect. We take our thoughts very seriously. You want to know who you are? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you so that you can take the king and the minister together, not just the king himself. You can take your heart and your intellect together, not just the heart itself. If you just take your heart, you are taking the thoughts very seriously. Yes? The next figure shows you two different colors. Shows you the yellow color and the green color. The yellow color is what? Don't worry if you can't see it. The yellow color is the false you. Yes? The yellow color is your mind. Some people believe that they're in this yellow zone, which I call the yellow zone. Yeah? Imagine you are in your yellow zone. Let's take this. I come into the house and I shout at my wife, and then she shouts back, and then we have a fight. Yes? Because I've taken my thoughts very seriously. When I take my thoughts very seriously, this is not who Allah has created. This individual is not who Allah has created. I believe that I am my thought, and it's the false me, it's not the true me. The reason why, and this is the important point here, and I want a very loud salawat before I say this point. Sallu ala Muhammad. There is something called the ego. Bear with me here, yeah? There's something called the ego. You've all heard of ego. The reason why, when I enter the house and I see the house is not clean, what happens there is actually my ego is threatened. Say, I am Ali, right? No one can challenge my ego. So my ego starts to scream. He says, oh Ali, what is going on? Right? The house is not clean. So what does the ego? Ego says to the mind, give me something. I need you to strengthen me. I am being weakened. And the mind says, okay, fine, ego. I'm going to give a thought. I'm going to give a thought to Ali. To Ali himself, I'm going to give a thought. Say, fight with your wife. Be angry because this is not right. You know, you're Ali. And a thought comes in because my ego was threatened. Yeah? Especially our men, our men. We love our ego, don't we? Yeah? We just love our ego. So therefore, for me, when I see this ego being threatened, my mind says, I'm going to save the ego. That's why they say the mind feeds the ego to make it strong. If the mind is weakened, if the ego is weakened, the mind says, don't worry, ego, I will feed you. So the mind produces what? Produces what? A thought. And the thought produces what? Emotions. Yeah? So what happens? If I believe I am in that yellow zone, then the mind produces a thought, will feed the ego will go up because I will say, why is this house so dirty? What have you been doing all day? The ego is strengthening. Yes, come on, you're a man. Yeah, you're a man, shout at her. What is going on here? What has she been doing all day? Right? Scream at her. I get angry because I'm a man. I need my ego to be strengthened because a thought has told me to do so. Because my ego was threatened. That's because I've locked the intellect and I believe that I am my mind. I believe these thoughts are really who defines me. and I am in this yellow zone. However, those of us who don't believe that they are their thoughts, who have the intellect free to work with the heart, yes? Well, what do? They tap into the green zone. When I come in to the house, I look at the dirt, right? It's okay, everyone's gonna get a thought. I'm not saying you block the thought. You get a thought. You will still get 60, 70,000 thoughts. That's okay. But what your reaction towards the thought is important here. This is the critical point. Your ego will say, come on. And my intellect will say, no, Ali, this is not good. Remember, Allah created this intellect, this aql, right? And Allah says, use the aql, use the intellect. And then when I use the intellect, my intellect tells me, no, Ali, this is not right. This is not what Allah wants you to do. Calm down, take deep breaths. It's okay, you go and clean. And the ego will say, what are you doing? It will continuously do that and do that and do it. Says, what are you doing? Oh, mind. The mind keeps on producing thoughts and produces thoughts. But I'm in my green zone. I don't care what the yellow zone is doing. I've allowed the intellect to come out. I'm using my intellect. Yes? So, when you do that, honestly, my brothers and sisters, I've tried this. When you do that, you feel so much awareness in this life. Everything feels so deep. And you become so conscious. And I'll give you proof of the Quran about this in a bit, inshallah. You will feel enlightened. And this is the real you. You are your intellect and the heart together. Yes? You are your ruh, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. This is your ruh. Yes? I will explain in a bit. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. There is this individual, right? Saturday night, so inshallah we'll take a bit of more your time, inshallah. There is this individual who is called Eckhart Tolle, right? He has a book called The Power of Now. When you open that particular book, he explains a very interesting story. He says that I am walking and I see a beggar. You see a beggar, yeah? The beggar says, spare some change, please. And you say, no, I don't have any change. But what you say to the beggar, you say, have you actually found out what's inside that box you're sitting on? The beggar is sitting on the box. The beggar says, no, don't worry, the box is empty. I don't want to open it. And you say, well, you're not losing anything. Open the box. It could be something in it. And the beggar says, okay, I'll do it. Get back to me. Right? And the beggar will say, okay, I'll get up and I will open the box. So the beggar gets up, opens the box and finds out what? The box is full of gold. You see, the thing is, my brothers and sisters, is that we are all beggars if we have not opened this box of gold. We are sitting on this box of gold, which is the intellect. We're sitting on it, and we keep on saying, pledge and change, spare some change, right? But we have to just get up and open the box, and we'll see the box is full of gold. This is what Allah's created. Allah's created so much gold for us that we're not using, but we are also poor. We are so poor because we are following our appetite. We are so poor because we follow the anger. And so look at our societies. So look at our communities. Look at our families. Look at the problems we are having on a constant, daily basis. Right? Look at our politics. Even, I believe, dictators such as Saddam and Hitler and others, all human beings had what? Had intellect. But they did not tap into their intellect. They kept on oppressing their intellect. They said, I don't want to use intellect. I want my ego. Saddam Hussein used his ego. Say, I am Saddam, I'm going to rule. Hitler used his ego. Mussolini used his ego. Fir'aun used his ego. Right? Ana rabbukum al-a'la. What's going on? He says, I am your big Lord. Why are you prostrating to this is Musa's Lord? I am your Lord. He used his ego. That's why this is the adalatillah, the fairness of Allah. He created this intellect, al-aql, in every single one of us. But the difference between the person X and the person Y is that the person X uses the intellect. The person Y does not use the intellect. Yes? So, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you not comprehend? You need to comprehend. Let me give you an example of one of our Imams. One of our Imams was approached by a particular individual. This particular individual came and started insulting the Imam. You've heard of these stories, right? They come into the Imam and they start insulting him. Say, oh, you're Ahlul Bayt, you are this, you are that. It's inappropriate for me in this pulpit to speak about this, right? You are this and that. Now, I'll ask you this question. Imam, what would his reaction be? What would your reaction be? Depends, have you locked the intellect or not? Yes? The Imam allowed him to finish. This is the Imam's response, right? Just listen to this response and let's take a lesson from this. He said, look, if you are right about me, then may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. But if you are wrong about me, then I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. How many of us actually say this? If someone comes and screams at me and insults me, right? I say, if you're right about me, that I am this, this and that, then I ask Allah to forgive me. What happened to that guy's ego? He was his big ego, but Imam just diminished his ego. The other guy went. The ego was saying, oh, shout at this Imam, look at what they're doing. And the mind was saying, yes, I'll produce the thoughts. Don't worry, ego. I'm doing the work for you. It produces the thoughts. The thoughts used to come to this individual and he used to process the thoughts and says, yes, this is Imam, your Imam. But Imam said something that made him what? Made the person tap into the green zone. He went into the green zone and he calmed down. And then they started believing in the Imams. That is why, my brothers and sisters, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have come about so I can complete مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاق. Yes? ادْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Right? Call for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best possible way. Right? And there is also hadith from our Imams that say, كُونُوا لَنَا دُعَاةً صَامِتِينَ بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. If you want to call for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to become an ambassador for Islam, you don't need to use your mouth. Just become you. And I recently heard that this center, for example, gave water to those firefighters when there was a heavy fire close by, right? This is da'wah for Islam. You didn't have to speak, just produce them with the water. Blood donation, for example. This morning we visited the blood. If you haven't donated blood, please do so, right? We visited there, right? And this is da'wah for Islam. You don't have to be in the talking. Why? Because I've tapped into my intellect. My emotions are not taking over. Right? Because sometimes speaking brings problems. Yes? Speak less. This is the sign of a mu'min, by the way. They speak less. Why do they speak less? It's because it's not that they don't get thoughts. They get a lot of thoughts. But they choose what to speak. Yeah? When a thought comes in, my brothers and sisters, you ponder, take a breather and say, is it right for me to act on this thought or not? Is it right for me to act in this thought or not? When you get this urge to shout at someone, to shout at your wife, or wife, when you get this urge to shout at the husband, or scream at your kids, or your kids scream at your parents, right? Take a deep breath. Calm yourself. The thought is the mind, comes from the mind. You are not your mind, whereas you are your intellect. Free the intellect. When you tap into your intellect, you become who? You become this non-angry self. You become this non-hating self. You won't hate anyone. The sign of a mu'min, my brothers and sisters, honestly take this from me. The sign of a mu'min is one who has a heart that does not hate anyone. Does not hate anyone. Doesn't matter if this individual has caused a crime. You do not hate them. Because once you start hating people, then your whole body will be taken over. Your thoughts will take over you, right? And then you'll be a peasant to your thoughts and mind and your ego. But if you do not, right, then you become a free man. You become absolutely free if you do not hate anyone. How many of us have actually problems with certain relatives out there? Just let it by. Honestly, take this from me. Just say, okay, fine. They'll probably still hate you, but you take the phone and say, look, I don't hate you anymore. In fact, I respect you. Wow. Al-Hurr al-Riyahi. What happened? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam showed him respect. Did he have hate against the Ruh? Did he have hate against anyone? No. That's why Hurr turned. If Imam al-Hussein didn't have respect towards al-Hurr, then Hurr wouldn't have turned. But he had respect towards anyone and everyone. Even Umar ibn Sa'd. Anyone, respect. I don't have hatred in my heart towards you. Perhaps I don't love you. Yes. Love is a different thing. Right? But I don't hate you. Why should I hate you? Because if you hate, then the only person who's suffering is you. Just be free in this life. Like a bird. You will become, if you tap into your intellect, you will become this non-depressed self. By the way, my brothers and sisters, depression and the clinical depression, right, is not what Allah has created. We become depressed because we don't tap into the intellect. We become depressed because we've imprisoned our intellect. We become depressed because of our emotions are taking over. We become depressed because our thoughts are taking over. Yes? If I take a breather when a thought comes in and I tap into my intellect, I won't become depressed. I will become this non-jealous self. I will become this non-ghiba self. Right? How many of us actually do ghiba on a daily basis? أَيَحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do you actually like eating the flesh of a dead person? And by the way, why did Allah say dead person? It's because he's dead, not there. He's dead. He's not there, right? That is the ghiba, isn't it? This is backbiting. He's not there. Remember, if you say something about... So that's why for me, and honestly I tell you this from my heart, I'm trying to practice what I am preaching. So when a thought comes in and says, oh, say this about this person, because it's juicy. Gossip is juicy, isn't it? Sometimes when you're sitting with friends and you say, oh, this person, you see what he said, oh, this person, what he said, you know, you're really, really getting into the edges of ghiba, and you might even get into ghiba. Then I'm trying. A thought comes into my head, says, oh, say it. Take a deep breath. I won't say it. I've tapped into my intellect. Yeah? I've freed the intellect.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
If you want to tap into your intellect, what you will do is you yourself, if you believe you are the intellect, what you'll do, you'll become what they call the watcher. you watch, not literally in your eyes, but you watch your thoughts. It's a, have you seen the iPads, right? When you do this, you become exactly the same. These are your thoughts. Every slide is your thoughts. You just do this. You choose which thought you want to take. A thought that comes and says, well, why don't you call X, Y, and Z and say salams to them? Yes, I'll take that thought. Thank you very much. I'm in my intellect, so I'm using rationality here. A thought that comes and says, oh, this person, why don't you go and say this in WhatsApp about them? They've hurt you last time. Say, no, thank you very much. I don't want this thought. You slide them over. It's as if, right, you are swimming in a river that is it's a very strong river, right? It's a strong tide. What we need to do, and these are your thoughts, what you need to do is you get out of the river and just watch the sea. Just watch the sea pass by, or the river pass by. This is what we become the watchers of our thoughts. We are not our thoughts, we become the watchers of the thoughts. I am in position of the green zone. I am in the intellect zone, and I watch the thoughts. And I do this. No, I'll take this thought. No, I don't want to take this thought. No, I'll take this thought. This was the status of our imams. Yes? Whatever thought they get, they used to also get some thoughts that are, they were human beings, right? But what differentiates us, some of us from them, is that they used to make sure that they're always in this intellect zone, where they measure this very carefully. When this person approached the imam, yes, he was threatening his ego, but the imam did not think about his mind. He went into the green zone, the imam, and said, look, if you are right about me, then may Allah forgive you. Yes, he used the green zone. Now, refer back to the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In chapter 7, verse 201. See what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna alladhina taqaw. Those people who are God conscious, those who are muttaqeen. Who are those muttaqeen, O Allah? He says, Inna alladhina taqaw, idha massahum ta'ifun min ash-shaytan. Right? If a glimpse of the shaytan comes to them. And by the way, when I talked about thoughts, I didn't want to get into the two details, but of course the shaitan brings up thoughts as well. He's into it. He's in there, right? Some of them are satanic thoughts and some of them are not. It's based on your experience, etc. And of course the shaitan is definitely in there, right? But the shaitan comes and whispers in your ear, right? إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِنَ مَسَّهُمْ, what does it? Comes and touches you a bit. Shaitan comes in here and says, do this. And he goes away. But if you're a muttaqi, if you're a God conscious person, إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا. Tadhakkaru means they become conscious. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. Yes? Those muttaqeen who tap into their intellect. Yes? Al-muttaqi, the God-conscious person, always taps into their intellect. When a shaitan comes and whispers, they know. They wake up. They say, oh, that's a shaitan thought. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take this. When I enter my house and it's not clean, right? Shaitan comes and says, oh, shout at your wife, shout at your wife. A thought comes in. Oh, I know this is a shaitan. If I am a muttaqi and I tap into my green zone, right? مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا. It's like you wake up. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. Yes? This is what the Quran says. If you want to become a muttaqi, yes, you must understand, you must appreciate and comprehend that the shaitan will always come and whisper in your ear, but you have to become conscious. I'm going to give you some practical tips, inshallah, into how we can step into the green zone. The first practical step is, as I said before, you acknowledge the thought. Do not block the thought. We spoke about this a few days ago, about blocking the thought. Some people block the thought, right? Do not block the thought that comes in. What you need to do is you need to acknowledge the thought. If a thought comes in and says, shout at your wife, you acknowledge the thought. Says, okay, thought, thank you very much. Don't judge it. and take 10 deep breaths. They say the best types of breathtaking is you take in 4 seconds in, you hold for 4 seconds, and you breathe out for 4 seconds. Do that 10 times or 5 times. Like this, right? And you allow the thought to disappear. Yeah? You see, a really good example which I've read or I've seen is, they say, a beach ball example. You take a beach ball, right? And if you press the beach ball into the sea and you let go, what happens? Pops up back again, doesn't it? Yeah? But if you do it again, pops up back again. This is the thought. The beach ball is the thought. What we do is we block it. And then we let go, it pops up. Says, hey, it's me again. You say, no, pop it back in, it comes up again. What I need to do is I need to let the ball, what? Float. It will go. Trust me, it will go somewhere else. Let the ball float. Yes? Take 10 deep breaths. Be in the green zone. Number 2, other studies say that you write down your thoughts. If you are troubled by your thoughts, if you have lots of thoughts of anger, lots of thoughts of, bringing up your ego, then what? You sit down and maybe write down your thoughts. Write it in your mobile. It helps you to get rid of these thoughts. These are what the researchers say. Another thing is, they say, be in the present moment. Because the mind that produces the thoughts, it hates the present moment. And the best example I can give is when it's salah time. When you say Allahu Akbar in salah, what happens? Right? A trigger, influx of thoughts come into your head, and they say, oh, what's going on? I'm going to think about the past, or I'm going to think about the future, because your mind hates the present moment. If you start just think about now, right, the mind will say, no, let's think about what happened just 10 minutes ago, or let's think about what might happen in 10 minutes. But always try to beat the mind and say, no, I'm going to stay in the present moment. Because what matters is right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you about what happened before. And you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You can plan for the future, but you don't know what's going to happen. But what's important is right now. Number 4 is reflections and mindfulness, right? You sit down and reflect and contemplate, right? Again, you get these thoughts, you acknowledge the thought. But how many of us actually sit down and do reflection sessions? We're very busy in life. Life is very, very busy, right? Just sitting down and contemplating. And finally, number 5, continuous dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continuous dhikr. Have your mouth always, right? Your lisan always, Allahu Akbar, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. You're waiting for a bus, alhamdulillah, subhanallah. You're driving, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. You look at the trees, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. Look at the birds, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, shukran lillah. You have some clothes, you have a family, alhamdulillah. You have some food, shukran lillah, alhamdulillah. Continue, and this is a message for my younger brothers and sisters as well. Always have Allah, dhikrillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This will help you tap into the green zone. If you're always in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
So finally, the take-home message, right? To get to know yourself, my brothers and sisters, right? Is for us to free the intellect. Who you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. You want to know who you are? You are your intellect. You are your ruh that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. You are your fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Why many of us fall into trouble is because we believe we are our thoughts. We believe that we are our mind. Trust me, my brothers and sisters. If you want to get to know Allah, the only route towards Allah is through your intellect, not through your mind. Your mind is blocked. There is roadworks. It won't get you towards Allah. But if you're in the green zone, your intellect, then there's a very, very, very clear route towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala.